Good morning, good afternoon. We're going on the record at 1:16 p.m. on April 22nd, 2019. Please note that the microphones are sensitive and may pick up whispering, private conversations, and cellular interference. Please turn off all cell phones or place them away from the microphones as they can interfere with the deposition audio. Audio and video recording will continue to take place unless all parties agree to go off the record. This is media number 1 of the video recorded deposition of Kathleen Ledbetter in the matter of Will Taylor et al. Versus DMCG Inc. et al., filed in the Superior Court of California, County of San Diego, Hall of Justice. This deposition is being held at Louis Brisbois, located at 24 Greenway Plaza, Suite 1400, Houston, Texas. My name is Peter Jennings from the firm Liberty Reporting, and I'm the videographer. The court reporter is Penny Pabitsky from the firm Liberty Reporting. I'm not related to any party in this action, nor am I financially interested in the outcome. Counsel and all present in the room will now state their appearances and affiliations for the record. If there are any objections to proceeding, please state them at the time of your appearance, beginning with the noticing attorney.
Scott McMillan, on behalf of Ken Gorman, Will Taylor, and Nicholas Wayman.
Tim Watson, for defendants, FCS Inc., DMCG Inc., Bail Hotline Bail Bonds Inc., McGuire Brothers Enterprises Inc., Gilbert McGuire, and Daniel McGuire.
Will the court reporter please swear in the witness, and we can proceed.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you shall give in the cause now pending will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Ms. Ledbetter.
Hello?
I'm Scott McMillan. We met at the last deposition, right?
Yes.
I'm passing you what has been marked as Exhibit 5. Could you look that over, please?
I don't know if he wants you to read the entire thing. Several pages.
Do you recognize that document, ma'am?
No.
Never seen it?
No.
Were you aware that there was another notice of deposition that had been issued?
Yes.
How did you become aware?
Bill Shields emailed me.
Did he send you a copy of the deposition?
Not that I am aware of. No, I don't think he did.
At the time of the deposition, of the last deposition, did you understand that there was a issue about the search for responsive documents to the request for production of documents?
I don't remember.
We had asked for all the emails that you had had with DMCG. Do you remember that?
Yes.
And do you recall that there was a lack of production of those emails? That all the emails had not been produced?
I don't know that I was told that, no.
Okay. Had you been asked since then to look for documents? Responsive documents?
No.
Were you... Did Bill Shields ever ask you if you had had communications with Ken Gorman?
No.
Did Bill Shields ever ask you if you had had communications with Chuck Wayman?
No.
Did Bill Shields ever ask you if you had had communications with Will Taylor?
No.
Who's Michael Padilla?
He was a manager for vice president for financial casualty and surety.
Would there be any reason for Michael Padilla to be in California in 2010?
I have no idea.
Was Michael Padilla's assignment at any time for FCS, did it have anything to do with agent relations?
Yes.
Is it customary for those assigned to agent relations to visit the offices
Yes.
of the bail agents?
Yes.
There's quarterly bond reviews, correct? For each agency?
I'm not aware of them.
There's quarterly visits made to each agent, is that correct?
Not that I'm aware of.
Is there an annual visit made to each agent?
I'm not aware of any.
Have you been in charge at any time for agent compliance?
Yes.
When were you in charge of agent compliance?
Just recently, the last 6 months.
Who did you take over from?
We didn't have one. We had an. I don't think we had one. We had an in-house attorney.
That was in charge of agent compliance?
Yes.
So in your role as, your duties as an agent compliance person, what do you do?
Monitor the requirements of the Department of Insurance
For the state of California?
for all states for financial casualty and surety.
And that has to do with capital requirements or something else?
Mostly regulatory, not necessarily financial.
Okay. And what kind of regulations do you monitor compliance for?
To make sure that all the agents are appointed, financial casualties licensed correctly. Any documents that have to be filed with the state have been filed.
All right. Now, last time we had discussed the complaints received from indemnitors and defendants from the California Department of Insurance. Do you recall that?
Yes.
Did you review your deposition before coming here today?
No.
Are you aware of the 7? Are you aware of how many complaints have been filed by consumers and indemnitors against financial casualty and surety with the Department of Insurance?
No, I could not count them.
Is there more than 5?
Yes.
Is there more than 10 that you're aware of?
Yes.
Do any of these concern thefts by the bail agent's personnel?
No.
Do any of these concern home invasions by the bail agent's personnel?
I don't recall.
Do any of these involve false billing by the bail agent's personnel?
Yes.
Do you require that the bail agents are honest with their defendants and the indemnitors? Is there any sort of requirement?
Well, yes.
How do you enforce that?
I don't know. I don't enforce it.
Is there a reason why you don't enforce that?
How would I enforce it? I don't know how to enforce it. Let's put it that way.
Well, if you're receiving complaints from financial casualty and sureties insured and their indemnitors, that the financial casualty and surety agent did something dishonest with them, financial casualty and surety has the right to revoke its agency with that agent, correct?
You're assuming that the agency is at fault.
Okay. Well, for instance, a hypothetical. A defendant or an indemnitor receives a bill for investigative services, which is billed at $200 an hour. The fact in our hypothetical is the investigative services, the agent did not pay $200 an hour for those services.
I've never received a complaint for that.
Well, for our hypothetical, would you say that that's dishonest? If the agent is billing one of financial casualty sureties insured or their indemnitors a charge that was not actually incurred.
Objection lacks foundation. Speculation.
As a vice president of financial casualty and surety, is that dishonest?
Again, I don't know how to answer I don't know what you're asking me.
I'm asking you if one of your agents billed one of the indemnitors or the defendants on a financial casualty and surety bond for charges that they did not incur. Is that wrong?
How would I know they didn't incur the expense? I don't. How would I be able to answer that? There's not enough information there to answer it.
Right.
Hypothetically, I don't regulate what they charge for recovery services.
Do you require that they comply with state law?
Yes.
Okay, so if they're using an unlicensed investigative service, when the state requires that investigators be licensed.
I'm not aware that they have to be licensed.
Have you reviewed the Business Professions Code for state of California as it relates to private investigators?
When necessary.
So you're familiar that anybody that calls themselves an investigation agency must be licensed with Department of Consumer Affairs, correct?
Lacks foundation.
Are you aware of that?
No. I can look it up.
Anybody that holds themselves out as an investigator or an insurance adjuster, a private insurance adjuster, must be licensed. Are you aware of that?
I know that bail agents have to be licensed.
You're aware that your bail agents are charging for the costs that they incur in recovering fugitives, correct?
Lacks foundation.
I get no receipts.
You are aware that the bail agents are charging the indemnitors and the bail defendants for charges the bail agents incur for recovering fugitives, correct?
Lacks foundation is phrased.
I think it's vague. I don't know how to answer it.
Let me try to break it down. The bail agents, they sign a contract with the defendant, correct?
I think the defendants. I'd have to look at the paperwork before I could answer that.
We have paperwork here. I suppose I could show it to you. But your contract, your bond, your powers, those are a contract, correct?
It's an application, but the defendant doesn't always sign it. The indemnitor does.
Indemnitor being mom and dad or some other relative that's bailing out their loved one, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes.
And part of that contract, that after it's accepted, that application is a contract, correct?
Yes.
And if the surety, in this case financial casualty and surety, or the bail agent incur expenses, that contract allows them to charge that to the indemnitor. Is that correct?
Yes.
Is it financial casualty and surety's intention that only legitimate charges be charged to the indemnitor?
Yes.
What, if anything, does financial casualty and surety do to make certain that only legitimate charges are billed to the indemnitor?
I don't know.
Do you know of anything that financial casualty and surety does to make certain that only legitimate charges are billed to the indemnitor?
Could you repeat your question?
Do you know of anything that financial casualty and surety does to make certain that only legitimate charges are billed to the defendant and indemnitor?
I'm not aware.
Is your testimony that you've never heard of Ken Gorman, correct?
Correct.
It's your testimony that you've never communicated with Ken Gorman, correct?
Correct.
It's your testimony that Ken Gorman has never communicated with you, correct?
Correct.
And you did a search through your emails that you have access to verify that you have no written contact with Ken Gorman, correct?
Correct.
Because that was something that concerned you, correct?
Pardon?
You were concerned about that, right?
It's vague.
That was something that was important in this case, correct?
To
Vague.
search.
I'm sorry?
To search for emails for Ken Gorman?
Yes.
Yes.
Despite your search, you found nothing.
Correct.
You have submitted affidavits in a number of cases, correct?
Affidavits, testimony like this?
Well,
Or-
affidavits where you sign an affidavit
Yes.
filed in Harris County, correct?
Yes.
And in those affidavits, you held yourself out as a custodian of records, correct?
Correct.
And you're familiar with the original records, books, and accounts of FCS, correct?
Could you repeat that?
You're familiar with the original records, books, and accounts of FCS.
Yes.
And that includes all of the documents associated with FCS's relationship between itself and the agents that Financial Casualty and Surety has authorized under a general agency agreement, correct?
Yes.
That includes the what bond powers are outstanding.
I need you to repeat the question. I'm not understanding what you're wanting to know.
You're the custodian of records of that information that reflects the bond powers that the agent was provided.
It's in our bail system, yes.
But you're the custodian of those records, and you've so declared in more than one affidavit, correct, Ms. Ledbetter?
Yes.
You're also familiar with the indemnity funds that FCS maintains,
Yes.
and the bond forfeiture liability. Those documents and data that reflect the bond forfeiture liability of FCS.
I'm aware that there is data in our system for that information.
But you've also declared that you are the custodian of records of that data. True?
True.
You've also declared that you're the custodian of records of the data that reflects the open liability dash reported bond powers. Correct?
Correct.
And the open liability dash unreported bond powers. You're the custodian of records for that data as well.
Correct.
FCS maintains a record of every power of attorney it entrusts to its agents, right?
Yes.
Has spreadsheets that summarize all of that data, correct?
We don't necessarily keep the spreadsheets because we can actually export that information from the bail system at any time.
You're able to tell through executing a relatively straightforward script on your software in-house as to the amount any particular agent owes FCS, correct?
Correct.
And you've told more than one court in Harris County that you're familiar with the general agency agreement, correct?
I think in Harris County, the affidavits I've signed are retail agreements.
What about in federal court?
I don't think I've signed any for federal court.
Give me a moment here. Is it your understanding that none of the general agency agreements, the agents under the general agency agreements have needed to be sued?
What was the first part of the question?
Is it your understanding that none of the agents under the general agency agreement have needed to be sued?
No, it's not my understanding.
Have any of them needed to be sued? The general agents. Have any of the general agents been sued by FCS?
Yes.
Where were those cases filed?
One was, I believe, New Jersey.
I'm sorry?
New Jersey.
You signed as the,
I think it started in
Harris.
regular court, yes.
In
Not in state court, not federal.
You believe it started in federal court?
No, state.
And that was the bail agent in New Jersey.
Yes.
It's a female bail agent, right?
Mm-hmm.
What was her name?
Genevieve Stewart.
Was that associated with the with blackjack?
No.
That was a different one. And the case with Genevieve Stewart, you, see if I have it on this. You actually signed as the custodian of records on that, correct?
I have no idea. I don't recall.
I can tell you right now here. In a moment. Looks like I don't have that one. Okay, I'm going to show the witness Exhibit 65. Actually, there may be an exhibit in there, something marked as an exhibit that's attorney-client.
In 65?
64, would you please delete 64?
All right.
Thank you. I'm going to pass you Exhibit 65. You recognize Exhibit 65, Ms. Ledbetter?
I don't recognize it.
If we look at the first email, which is on page 2 of Exhibit 65, it starts out, "Good morning, Jennifer. See the demand attached. A total of $65,000 is due January 15, 2015 at 4 p.m. Please forward proof of satisfaction, or you may fax it to 713-351-8401. Attention, Lisa."
Yes.
Okay. And Lisa M. Hernandez, forfeiture associate. You know Ms. Hernandez, correct?
Yes.
In fact, you saw her today, correct?
Yes.
You haven't seen this email before I showed it to you just now?
I don't recall seeing it, no.
You didn't see it today earlier, did you?
No?
Okay. So, this is a inquiry from one of your subordinates at FCS to the Jennifer Velez, who works at DMCG, right?
Yes.
And it concerns a bond that had been, it was due to be forfeited, right?
Yes.
There was a it actually looks like the first email here originated with you, correct? So it's on January 12th, 9:53 a.m. Oh, you know what? What I'm forgetting? Or maybe this is a possibility. 2 hours time difference between California and Texas. Which do you think is the first email in this chain, Miss Ledbetter? Is it the last one or is it yours?
Don't guess or speculate. If you
I can't figure it.
Hold on. If you can't answer the question, please do, but don't guess or speculate.
I can't figure it out because normally the first email is the last one.
Okay. I mean, the one before Miss Hernandez is from Myron Steves.
I can tell you that's from our fax.
Because Myron Steves is just not in the business of, in the custom of sending out emails about things such as this, correct?
Our fax came in with their address on it, that's all it was, but it was Financial Casualty and Surety's fax.
Well,
Because see, it says do not reply, that's a fax that came in.
okay.
And usually it says FCS, but sometimes it says Myron Steves. I don't know why that.
Well, I mean, FCS is really just, I mean, it's just a corporation. I mean, the real business here is Myron Steves, correct?
No.
I think we covered this last time. You're a Myron Steves employee.
No, I'm a Financial Casualty and Surety employee. I've always worked for the company Financial Casualty and Surety.
But you have an employee number with Myron Steves, right?
I tell you, yes.
You get your paycheck from Myron Steves, right?
Yes.
And the office space is leased by Myron Steves, correct?
Correct, I guess.
The Financial Casualty and Surety doesn't actually own anything other than the bonds, the right to collect the bonds, these contracts with the general agents and the defendants, right? It has no other assets or any other existence. Is that fair?
I don't know.
So, let's try to do a timeline here. Monday, January 12th, 2015 at 10:29 a.m. Central Time. We are in Central Time here, aren't we?
Yes.
A fax comes in.
Does it say Central Time on the fax?
No, it doesn't. But Myron Steves is in Texas, right?
Well, see, that's January 12th at that time, and Lisa responded January 15th.
Okay.
Or it's due January 15th, I'm sorry.
So for our purposes, it doesn't matter what time, what time zone it is, because there's a response. No. The first event happens January 12th, 2015 at 10:29 a.m. Right? That's the Myron Steves. Correct?
Assuming that's the first event. It's vague.
That's the earliest time. Would you agree with me?
Like I said, I can't tell with this email. It looks like it's out of kilter.
Right, but let's just focus on the very last entry on Exhibit 65, page 2 of 2. There's something from Myron Steves,
It's from our bail fax machine.
and it was sent Monday, January 12th, 2015 at 10:29 a.m. to Lisa M. Hernandez. Correct?
Okay. Yes.
Ms. Ledbetter, other than what you're reading along with counsel, do you have any independent recollection of these
No.
emails? Okay, thank you.
Okay.
No.
Where is Myron Steves' fax? Locate, where's the fax machine?
It's not a physical fax machine. It's through the email.
Okay. Where is the server?
In some closet somewhere. I don't know.
The closet in Hawaii, California, Texas, Georgia, Iceland?
I don't know where they have it.
Okay.
I think it's on site.
It's on site over.
But they've done a lot of changes, so I thought they'd moved some of it off site. So I don't know where for the fax machine, I don't know where it is.
Okay. Where did they move stuff off site to?
I don't know.
Okay. Now, the changes that they did, were those changes before or after January 12th, 2015?
I don't remember.
All right. Where is the fax number? What area code is the fax number?
713,
And what area code does 713?
Houston.
Houston, Texas?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So is it fair to assume that if a fax is sent to a number in Houston, Texas, and an email server that takes that fax and distributes it elsewhere is going to attach a Central Standard Time date stamp on it?
Don't speculate.
I don't know.
Well, I mean, you do receive other faxes from this number, correct? From this server?
Yes.
Okay. Are they 2 hours ahead, 2 hours behind? Or do they have a date stamp that correlates to the time that you understand the fax was sent, according to your time, your watch?
When we receive faxes, I assume that it's the time that is date stamped from our system, yes.
And has that assumption been a reasonable assumption based on your experience?
Yes.
So, let's assume for the purpose of this discussion that the fax that was sent from Myron Steves on Monday, January 12, 2015, 10:29 a.m., was sent on January 12, 2015, 10:29 a.m. Central Time.
Okay.
So the next email that's sent in this sequence appears to be yours.
No, it's Lisa Hernandez.
Why do you believe that?
Because right there it says Lisa Hernandez sent this to Jennifer Valdez January 12th at 10:35 a.m. in Carbondilla, myself and Robert Sabo.
Okay. But your email, what time does it say it was sent?
9:53. That's what I say. This doesn't make any sense. I don't know how these got squirreled around like this. If it was sent the same day, how would I know to send the email and have her stuff attached to it if I sent it before hers?
Was your clock set right on your computer?
I have no idea. I do not recall that I ever had an issue with time on my computer.
Do you see these Bates numbers down here? The bottom? DMCG 013666?
Mm-hmm.
Is it yes?
Yes. I'm sorry.
Do you understand what the first four codes, the first four alphabetical, first four letters on that code means?
Yes.
What's your understanding?
DMCG. It came from DMCG's fax, email, whatever.
Okay. What time do you normally start work?
7:30.
What time does Ms. Hernandez start work?
7:30.
Okay. So you state to Ms. Velez, now read it into the record here. Jennifer Velez, the Nevada posting agent, called and got an extension on this case until January 21st. Do you know if the defendant can be surrendered by January 20th? And you sent that to Jennifer Velez and copied it, Delia L. Watson, Robert Sabo, Lisa M. Hernandez. Correct?
Correct.
And the subject was Ray, NV demand on transfer bond, $65, capital K, left paren, bail hotline, right paren. True?
True.
Jennifer Velez responded to your email, correct?
Calls for speculation.
Yes, I assume.
And she wrote, rather than speaking to you, she wrote, "Good morning, Ken. Per Rosalie's note in Captera on 9/26/14, comma, you were assigned to the above reference $300K space FFT, capital FFT, period. Were you aware of the forfeiture out of Las Vegas? Question mark. Caesar, if this issue hasn't been assigned, ellipsis follows, We need to do so right away. See attached and a note below from Kathleen Ledbetter, FCS. Period. Please advise. Period. J. Velez. I read all this correct?
Yes.
And that was copied. That was directed to you. It was directed to Caesar E. McGuire, Ken Gorman, and it was CC'd to Andrea Boudreau, Rosalie May Diasis. Correct?
Correct.
Lisa Hernandez does not appear in that last email, correct?
Correct.
Mr. Gorman, 11:26 a.m., same day. This time it says PST on the top. He asks, what is the defendant's name and or bond number? Question mark. Correct?
Correct.
Signs it Ken Gorman, Recovery Department. And that was sent to Jennifer Velez, yourself, Ms. Ledbetter, Caesar E. McGuire, Andrea Boudreau, Rosalie May Diasis. True?
True.
These were not emails that you produced, correct?
Correct.
Is there a reason that you can think of that these emails were not located when you did your search?
No reason that I can think of that they weren't located.
Had you deleted emails bearing Ken Gorman's name?
No, I have not.
Is there any reason that you have to believe that this email is a forgery?
No reason to believe.
I'll show you Exhibit 66. The subject line on Exhibit 66 is Ray NV-demand on transfer bond $65K left paren bail hotline right paren. Correct?
Correct.
And it's at the very last part of that page. If we go to Exhibit 66, page 2, it says please open attached document. And it's from Myron Steves. Correct?
Correct.
And it has the same email that we discussed before from Lisa Hernandez, right?
Right.
This email, Exhibit 66, is a reply email from Caesar McGuire to Ken Gorman and copying yourself, correct?
Correct.
This should have been found in your search, right?
Calls for speculation.
I'm only human. I can only do what I can do, and computers are not easy to search things. So it should have been, I would think.
And you see, once again, this has a Bates number that starts out with DMCG.
Yes.
Do you have any reason to believe that this email is a forgery?
No?
Let's go to '67. Once again, the subject on this is a string of emails. The subject on this is Ray NB demand on transfer bond, $65K, left paren bail hotline, right paren. And now we have Jennifer Velez responding at 11:35 a.m. PST. You were copied on this, correct?
Looks like it.
$65,000, I mean, that's within your range of interest, correct? That's when you get interested in, after a certain amount on a forfeited bond, Kathleen Ledbetter, Vice President of Financial Casualty and Surety, gets involved, correct?
Out of speculation or out of, I get involved, depending what the situation is.
Well, I mean, I think at our
But the
last...
amount of the bond doesn't necessarily mean that I get involved. That's what I'm trying to say.
Well, I thought we discussed this at our last deposition session, that after there's a certain threshold, if a bond value reaches a certain point, that's where your staff is instructed to get you involved. Is that correct?
Not necessarily.
But in this case, you were involved.
Yes.
Was there anything particular or special about this?
Yes, it was written by another agent as a transfer bond.
What's the transfer bond?
The licensed financial casualty and surety agent is not licensed in Nevada, for instance, but yet he has a client locally that has someone who's in jail in that particular state, calls financial casualty and surety and asks if we have an agent there that can post a bond.
In this case, whose client was this?
It was Bell Highline's client, but another agent posted the bond.
And so the other agent said, hey, this is not my problem.
Well, it becomes his problem if it doesn't get satisfied because he can't write if he has an outstanding forfeiture.
Well, he can still write. Financial casualty and surety can't write, correct?
Correct.
The state regulations are such that if the surety company has an outstanding forfeiture,
Not in Nevada. It's the agent in Nevada.
so the agent is punished in Nevada. So yes,
Correct.
in California,
It's the surety.
it's the surety that's punished.
Yes, correct.
So this forfeiture put your agent in jeopardy,
Yes,
and that concerned you.
yes.
Do you remember this incident?
No. Happens all the time. Happens all the time.
Do you know who the agent was?
No.
So, once again, Jennifer Velez, now she responds to Caesar McGuire, Ken Gorman, copies you, Andrea Bedreau, Rosa May Diasis, Chris Ramos now. You see Chris Ramos appear for the first time. And
And I don't,
Gilbert McGuire. The list of people involved in the discussion is growing. Would you agree?
yes.
With respect to 67, is there any reason to believe that this was a forgery?
No?
With respect to 67, do you have an understanding why you didn't locate this and provide it to me?
I have no idea.
You understand one of the objectives that I have here is to demonstrate that financial casualty and surety is involved with the operation of the recovery portion of DMCG's business. Correct?
Calls for speculation.
I don't understand the question.
Okay. I'll rephrase it. Actually, I'll withdraw it. You understand that the plaintiffs here in this case are seeking to hold financial casualty and surety liable for their unpaid wages. Correct?
Correct.
And prior to your deposition in September, you understood that then. Correct?
Correct.
I'm going to show you Exhibit 68. The subject is Ray : NB - demand on transfer bond 65K $, left paren, bail hotline, right paren. This email's from Rosalie Mediasis, Monday, January 12, 2015, 11:36 a.m. PST. You were copied on this email, correct?
Looks like it.
Is there any reason to believe that this is a forgery?
No.
With respect to this email, is there any reason that you can think of that this was not located and produced at the last deposition?
No.
Okay. Let's take a 7-minute break.
The time is 2:18 p.m. We are off the record.